baik tu dia jadi mereka tahu रेडियो फिजी बहुत रेडियो फिजी रोज सुनता हूँ
रेडियो फिजी 2 देश की धड़कन.
In the news tonight, LTA undertakes COVID-19 measures. NABUA dwellers in lockdown worried. An economist says sugar industry can help Fiji.
From the studios of FBC Suva, Jackie Smith.
The Land Transport Authority has implemented reduced hours for some of its 400-plus staff in response to the economic impact that COVID-19 has had on their operations. LTA CEO Samuel Simpson says the staff have been briefed every step of the way of the proposed changes and have positively responded to the necessary cutbacks. Maggie Boyle with the story.
To have the opportunity to
Samuel Simpson says no member of staff has been laid off or declared redundant and for now remain employed.
Some people have agreed to working hours reductions and we are in the process of implementing that.
The CEO says the global pandemic has been devastating in their day-to-day business.
COVID-19 has had an impact on everything that we do. If, for example, you take the number of people, the footfall through our branch offices, that has declined, by 50 to 60%.
Opposition MP Aseri Rondrondo highlighted the LTA cutbacks in a statement, saying this contradicted government's position that no civil servant or statutory authority and or government commercial company would experience any such salary reduction other than the 20% pay cut for MPs.
In order that we can avoid precisely this type of uncertainty, our staff have been working tirelessly to keep Fiji's roads safe through COVID-19 and more recently through Tropical Cyclone Harold. And they really do deserve better than a political stunt.
Simpson maintains they will do all they can to ensure their staff remain employed, with redundancies their last resort. Maggie Boyle, FBC News.
Residents of the Muslim League settlement lockdown area in NABUA are now thinking of how to make ends meet. The area was given an additional 14 days of lockdown on Friday as it was deemed a high-risk area for COVID-19. This after 3 members of the same family who reside in the settlement contracted coronavirus. Venina Rakautonga with the details.
These residents are concerned for their livelihood if the lockdown situation continues.
But for us here, I think this is the 18th day. We are not feeling any symptoms at all, and we've been tested and we know we are fine. The only thing we are facing in terms of difficulty in paying rent, and last month we didn't pay. This month we also didn't pay. Most of us here are working. We are stuck.
The members of this community admit they are facing certain challenges apart from the lockdown itself.
We are paying rent and now we can't do our work because of this issue we are facing. Although we are getting help with food rations, but we have more needs that we aren't able to fulfill because we are not able to go out and attend our jobs. Our gas and kerosene have run out and there is no other way we can work it out.
Other nearby residents have commended the initiative taken by the police force in manning the lockdown area in an effort to curb the spread of the virus.
I think it's good that the other officers are coming to look after us daily because of the sickness that is going around now, so that there can be precautionary measures taken to protect us.
Police officers have been manning the area for more than 14 days now. Only a portion of this community is on lockdown ever since the 9th case was confirmed. Venina Rakotonga, FBC News.
8 out of the 18 patients who had contracted the deadly COVID-19 virus in Fiji have now recovered. Prime Minister Vurenge Bainimarama has been briefed by the Minister for Health, Dr. Ifiremi Wangainambete, on the matter. The Prime Minister says this means our recovery rate is now at 44%. There are now only 10 active COVID-19 cases in the country. 52 tests were conducted last night and all came back negative, which includes 23 sailors who will now go into home isolation. 3 cases were tested twice and have also returned negative samples on both occasions. With no cure or vaccine for COVID-19, local doctors are treating symptoms as they develop in locally confirmed cases. Health Minister Dr. Ifiremi Wanganambete says medical teams are intensively managing each of 10 patients who remain in isolation centres around Fiji.
A handful of COVID-19 patients have developed complications, but thanks to round-the-clock medical care, none of them are in any grave danger.
Some of them have had symptoms that have become slightly short of breath. Some of them have developed pneumonia, but they've all become stable because of the treatment that we've provided for them. There is no magic cure. The key is to be able to support the body as it develops its immunity towards the COVID-19. And from that point of view, we're doing very well.
Dr. Wanganambete says there is a guideline on how to properly manage these patients so that they don't have to be put on ventilators.
What does happen is they rapidly destroy the aerodigestive tract, especially the lungs, because they lodge in the back of the airway and they go down. What our clinical people are doing, you haven't seen them yet. So they are Dr. Ravi, Dr. Luke, the intensivists, Dr. Aquila, Dr. Lisa Bennett.
There is evidence that physical distancing, movement restrictions and the lockdowns are preventing any local chain of transmissions of COVID-19.
Those who actually are positive to the virus or become COVID-19 patients that are through local transmission, which is receiving it in Fiji, are direct or close contacts of those who came with the virus. We haven't had any casual contacts yet in the Fiji setting.
A mass screening exercise is underway in Ba, while fever clinics remain open in other parts of Fiji. Edwin Nand, FBC News.
With the global economy experiencing a downturn, Fiji needs to relook at the sugar industry, once known as the white gold. Economists believe there is a significant scope for diversifying the economy. This, they say, will help Fiji to not rely on one sector like tourism, one of the hardest hit by the COVID-19 pandemic. Kritika Kumar reports.
The COVID-19 crisis will continue to unfold for some time and will cast a long, dark and painful shadow over the tourism sector. Therefore, Fiji needs a comprehensive plan.
I think we have to go back to that. Why I'm saying sugar, of course we can be reliant on other agricultural products, but it is not of that big magnitude.
The diversification should help reduce the vulnerability in the volatile export market.
Look at FSC, look at the mills, look at the leases of the land, look at who's on the farm, look at what's happening. You know, the overall restructure of the industry.
The Fiji Sugar Corporation has not been spared by the coronavirus. Thus, it says the viability of sugar production is by focusing on the technical efficiency of farm performance.
We have 70,000 hectares of land devoted to sugarcane. Of that, only 40,000 is actively cultivated at the moment. So there's plenty of room for us to achieve our own strategic objectives for sugar and help Fiji in terms of better balancing the economic contribution of the different sectors around the country.
The sugar industry is one of the largest contributors to export earnings and supports the livelihood of close to 200,000 Fijians. Kritika Kumar, FBC News.
Up ahead, Agriculture Ministry sets high targets. And tributes pour in for former PM. Details after the break.
Radio FIJIAN nandom.
Commissioner of Police Brigadier General Sithiven Ngilio says Fijians need to be reminded that physical activities are limited during this pandemic, in particular for those that can be done within a safe physical distance from others, and therefore rules out any team sports. This comes after 62 arrests related to COVID-19 restriction breaches were made overnight, the majority for social gathering breaches. The Commissioner says this is a concern because apart from the number of social gathering breach arrests made for drinking yangon and alcohol, people are being arrested for playing rugby and other team sports. 22 arrests from the Western Division, 17 for social gathering and 5 for curfew breaches. In the North, all 13 arrests were for social gathering breaches. In the Southern Division, there were 15 cases, 12 for social gathering and 3 for curfew breaches. The Central Division recorded 12 cases, 11 for social gathering breaches and 1 for curfew breach. National Federation Party President Beauty Kuntuandua has been released from police custody. Chief of Intelligence and Investigations ACP Mbu Matavo confirms the investigation involving Tikuntuandua has been completed. ACP Matavo says the case file had been submitted to the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions for independent legal advice. The opposition MP was arrested from his home in Delasui village, Tailevu, in relation to a video he posted to his Facebook page regarding an alleged assault on a Nangia village resident by police officers. The Ministry of Agriculture is working towards becoming one of the leading export earners in the country by progressively expanding the sector through various means. The ministry is working closely with relevant agencies within the sector to look at ways of boosting the industry and encouraging farmers to respond to market signals. Koroi Tandulala reports.
Agriculture Minister Dr. Mahendra Reddy says leveraging agriculture for the export sector will require large-scale production, which means investors need to have their own tools.
Exports volume of about $200 million, just about $200 million. What we would like to do is to commence with our first milestone ambition with a race to $1 billion. That's what we need to be aspiring to, that in the shortest possible time, how can we make that $200 million number $1 billion?
Wishes to place agriculture as the leading economic sector for Fiji and leading export earner. To do that, we will have to mobilize medium to large farms to grow in response to market signal. This is a sector which has huge potential.
The minister says one way of achieving their ambition is to ensure farmers are given incentives and are paid well to make their produce of international standards.
Our ginger farmers are much more, 10 times more efficient than ginger farmers in Australia. Take me on the record. But what the Australian importers are doing is then to use our price, pay a very low amount, pay the Australian farmers 10 times more than what our farmers are paid. And therefore, indirectly, we are subsidizing these inefficient farmers in Australia. On the record, 35 Australian dollars a kilo of mature ginger in Australia, and our farmers are paid $2 Fijian a kilo. All these we need to fix.
The minister is urging all other relevant stakeholders to join forces and help the sector grow and become a leading export earner to boost our economy. Koroi Tandulala, FBC News.
Tributes continue to pour in for former Prime Minister Laisenia Ngarase following his death yesterday morning. The National Federation Party leader, Professor Biman Prasad, has described Ngarase to be very transparent and conducted himself ethically in all his dealings. Sanyani Mboila reports.
The NFP remembered the late Ngarase for stabilizing the economy after the May 2000 coup and during his 6-year term as PM. Social Democratic Liberal Party leader Sitibeni Rambuka says Fiji has lost a true patriotic son who served as the 6th Prime Minister in an important period in our history from 2000 to 2006. Rambuka says Fiji has lost a true son who was resolute and steadfast, humble and God-fearing. Methodist Church of Fiji President Reverend Dr. Epineri Wagandeawasa says Ngarase was a true man of God.
He was a staunch member of the church, a lay preacher, and he lived the Christian life in his everyday living. He worshipped at the Centenary Church here in Sova and only missed a Sunday when he's out of town. Our country has lost a great man, a very humble citizen. His life is very well known to many of us. Being a former Prime Minister, which has served this country very sincerely and with great honor.
Funeral arrangements for the late Tui Kumbudo are yet to be finalized. He was 79 years old and is survived by his wife Lemba, their 7 children, 26 grandchildren and 3 great-grandchildren. Sainiani Mboila, FBC News.
The April sitting of Parliament has been deferred to next month due to the COVID-19 situation in the country. This was agreed to by the Ministry of Health and the Business Committee, with all parliamentary business for the April sitting to be dealt with next month. The next sitting of Parliament is scheduled from the 25th to the 29th of May 2020. And next up is Whitney, who has all the latest in business.
Thanks, Jackie. In business tonight, resort suffers from loss of revenue. and I'm from Kadavi. And Mirchi FM, it's hot.
Mirchi FM, it's hot.
A resort in Pacific Harbour along Queens Highway, which relies heavily on sports tourism, has lost more than $500,000 in revenue due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Uprising Beach Resort Director Renee Munch says this part of the year is usually busy for Uprising Beach Resort, as most of the sports tournaments were held around this time. Pranita Prakash reports.
The Uprising Beach Resort has lost majority of its bookings due to restrictions surrounding COVID-19.
For us, it is our peak season. As you know, we deal in sports tourism, so all our university groups, our rugby groups, soccer groups, they usually come at this time, so they've all cancelled. 99.9% of bookings for the next 2 years gone.
The resort, which employs around 60 staff, is trying to retain all of them, but on reduced hours.
I gave our general manager the directive to employ everyone till our bank account goes dry, because that's the purpose I built the place. If I can't pay my staff, why bother being in this business? When we have nothing left, whichever necessary staff wish to keep on working and helping us, we'll give them 32 hours a week, whether we can pay them or not. If we cannot pay them, we'll bank their hours. And for the staff that chose to stay home to look after families, that was fine. We bank 20 hours a week for them.
Munch says even if COVID-19 cases disappear tomorrow, it will take another year or two for people to start traveling and business to flourish again. Pranita Prakash, FBC News.
Restaurant and takeaway outlets in New Zealand are scrambling to get everything in order to open by next Tuesday. Under Alert Level 3, food outlets can trade, but only for contactless trade and home delivery. Sharon joins you next with the latest from the money markets.
Looking at the latest in Forex market, numbers released today showed Australian retail sales increased by the most on record in March. This was mainly owing to panic buying of food and other staples for the coronavirus lockdown. Their seasonally adjusted retail sales jumped 8.2% in March, beating the previous record of 8.1% set in 2002. However, Australia's central bank governor Philip Lowe said the country is likely to experience its biggest contraction in output since the 1930s and that a quick recovery to business as usual should not be expected. Meanwhile, the US dollar and Japanese yen recorded broad gains. The greenback has gained 0.5% this week on a basket of currencies and stands near multi-week high against currencies of oil exporters such as Russia, Norway and Canada. The euro remained range-bound while the British pound held near a 2-week trough after a gloomy assessment of recovery prospects from the Bank of England's chief economist. And that's all from HFC Bank for now. Vinaka.
Another mixed day on the exchange front. The Fijian dollar was down against the Chinese yuan, US dollar, euro and the Japanese yen. On to the commodities market, it was a totally different scenario than yesterday. The price of crude oil, which was at $1.54 yesterday, gained today to end at $12.66. Gold was up to 1,687 cents per ounce, while silver continues with its plunge, ending at $14.84 per ounce. That's it from Business Tonight. Jackie joins you now with the latest in sports.
In sports, after the break, Games Council to look at options. And cricket bowled out by COVID-19. All this coming up.
Bula, I'm Miri, I'm from Lotoka and I love Gold FM because they play all my classic hits.
Gold FM, only the classic hits.
Fiji Rugby Union's chairman, Commander Francis Keane, has withdrawn his nomination for election to the World Rugby Executive Committee. The Pacific Games Council is exploring its options on how to hold the Games next year. The postponement of the Olympic Games is not the only challenge the Council will need to address, but also the impact of the COVID-19 on the participating nations. Council President Vidya Larkin says they have a number of options, and cancelling the Games altogether is not on the table.
At the present time, the suggestion from the Games Organising Committee is to look at having the mini games in May or June. late May, early June next year.
The Fiji men's cricket team's road to the International Cricket Council World T20 regional qualifiers has come to a halt. Fiji Cricket President Alex Kondrote has confirmed that in light of the COVID-19 pandemics, the ICC has postponed the T20 regional qualifier schedule for June or July. Kondrote says until further notice from ICC, everything has been put on hold.
This year the men's cricket team was supposed to go for the ICC World Cup qualifier for the East Asia Pacific region. That the venue for that was supposed to be the Indonesia or Malaysia, but again that's been put on hold.
The T20 regional features Fiji, Papua New Guinea, Samoa and Vanuatu, all competing in the 4-day ICC World T20 East Asia Pacific A qualifier. The much-anticipated documentary series The Last Dance has aired in New Zealand. It's about the legacy of one of the greatest basketball players in history. That's it from sports. Coming up in the world of the weird and the wonderful, some extraordinary things people are doing as COVID-19 grips the world. Details after the break.
Bula, I'm Miri, I'm from Lotoka and I love Gold FM because they play all my classic hits.
Gold FM, only the classic hits.
In your media tonight, what do you use your computers at work for? Obviously for work, but there are other things that are now defined as a big no-no when it comes to using computers at work. And our favorite weather lady, Angie, joins us now with all the latest.
Malam Bula, let's have a slice of Lau Island today. Talk about the weather. It needs reformatting back to sunshine. There is clearly too much rain. Well, that's my observation. And these rain clouds have gathered up and is likely to come through bit by bit. Now moving on, checking the other centers out. In the west, conditions eased for some time before rain escalated. Well, don't get drenched, keep warm. Eastwards from Pekhabarasuva, rain is the word. No sign of sunshine. The evening will experience more showers. So to the drivers, drive safe. And up north, same weather scenario here as well. If you take a closer look, the temps actually rose by a degree or two. This means the air is sticky. At sea, southeast winds 15 to 20 knots might move up to 25, rough seas. Turning to the tides, low tide at 12:35 a.m. with high tide at 6:47 a.m. Sunrise at 6:17. For tomorrow, there will be showers, but not as much. It will start easing. I'm so looking forward to the weekend. Tomorrow's temps, most of the centers will have temps in the low 20s. And looking further on to Friday, yay! It's so close and makes everyone happy, and the weather will definitely cooperate. That's our wrap up from the rainy world. It's back to Jackie.
Thanks so much for that, Angie. In Fijian Pulse tonight, we asked, should more be done to protect the victims of domestic violence during this curfew period?
Yes, more needs to be done, but I'll start with religious teachings, and I don't think any religion teaches violence, so anyone involved should face the law.
I believe more still needs to be done. If anyone is going through domestic violence, she should report it.
I believe both mom and dad needs to sit and talk about the issues rather than resorting to violence.
My view is that more can be done, but parents need to talk about this with their children so they don't end up as commuters of domestic violence.
In the world of the weird and the wonderful, people are now resorting to doing anything and everything to get over the COVID-19 impact, even now to the extent of putting into action things when waiting in line to make that entry into shops. Recapping the main stories for tonight, LTA undertakes COVID-19 measures. NABUA dwellers in lockdown worried. An economist says sugar industry can help Fiji. Now for these stories and others, tune in daily to our sister radio station Gold FM. Our poll question this week we're asking, should banks consider a loan repayment holiday for at least a year? Visit our FBC website to answer. And our shot of the day comes from Arthur James. This was taken by him at midday at Suva Harbour. And show us what you've been up to during the lockdown and movement restrictions. Email fbcnews@fbc.com.fj. Share with us on our Facebook page, FBC News, and our Twitter page at FBC_news. That's your news for tonight. Until tomorrow, stay safe. Good night.
I'm Miri, I'm from Lotoka, and I love Gold FM because they play all my classic hits.
Gold FM, only the classic hits.